Do you ever feel like you could be doing more with what you already have?
Honestly, man, all of the time. And honestly, I still remember the first moment where I really had to come to terms with myself. It was like, wow, Hardy, you are seriously dropping the ball. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you were there, I mean, I know you were there, but if you were there, honestly, I think you're probably disappointed in what I was doing at the time. But we're here to be vulnerable, be authentic, so I have no problem sharing my story. I still remember it was height of COVID, hopping on, playing 2K after a nice day of work. If you know the 2K squad was undefeated for the most part. Anyways, hopping on, playing 2K, and I'll never forget the moment it hit me. Literally, it was me, Amadeus, Julius, in the group chat. Like, yo, I gotta take my guy to the park. So how it works, load up. If you know about 2K, you know you have to actually take your 2K character to the gym. And as I'm sitting here bumping on my triggers, running my guy on the treadmill, it really dawned on me that I'm sitting here taking a fictional character through a whole workout, finding no qualms whatsoever with investing my time into doing this, while sitting there complaining that the gym's closed, complaining that my pants clearly shrunk in the machine because they don't fit how they're supposed to fit, complaining how once the gym opens back up, it's go season. And it was literally in that moment I realized I was just sitting there making excuses for my lack of action. And honestly, it was so eye opening because in that moment I realized that up until that moment, although that moment shook me in such a unique way, it wasn't really a unique moment. I had spent a lot of my time previous to COVID, how I like to call it, majoring in minor things. And what I mean when I say that is I spent so much of my time trying to find the best possible way to finesse. It's like you ever have a kid in class where it's like you knew he was a serial cheater, like no matter what, how many proctors there were, where the teacher put him, how long you had to study, you knew this kid was going to cheat his way to a passing score. I feel like that's how I was living life, right? I was finding ways to cheat my way into doing the least amount of work, not realizing that I was spending so much work and putting in so much effort on things that when I really look back on them didn't really matter.
I'm right there with you in the sense of taking your 2K player to the gym, making sure they got that energy boost, because you'll be lacking in the park if you didn't have that energy boost. I can only speak for myself. What I got from it was a sense of accomplishment of beating other people in a video game, but it was a false sense of accomplishment, right? It's like you were saying, like in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. But like you could be doing more with your life. You could be doing, I don't know what it was at the time, I'm sure when you were there too, we didn't know what we should be doing with our time, but we knew that something felt off. We knew that something wasn't right. We knew that something we could, like you said, we could be doing more, but we weren't. And I think a lot of men can relate to that. To be honest, it's like I'm not alone. My brothers, like, right, grew up in a very big household, a lot of men, and a lot of wasted potential, I would say.
Oh yeah. I mean, hey, I'm definitely one of those guys, and I think the biggest thing that I really learned from that experience was I had so many destructive habits that I did not see for what they were. Right? It's like, don't get me wrong, I'm all for playing video games. I'm all for having leisure time, right? Giving yourself grace. But I think the thing with grace is it has a way of getting out of control when you're giving yourself unscheduled grace. I feel like that's really the trap that I fell into, right? It's like I had no problem playing 2K with the boys because it's a great stress reliever. But when I was hopping on and I was playing 2K during my lunch break, during my meetings, after work, and it's like I'm missing out on sleep because I'm playing video games, right? So at a certain point, something had to give.
I get that, right? I know for myself what made the change, but what made you change and say, you know what, enough wasn't enough. Get off your ass and honestly start doing something that gives you some type of fulfillment.
I'd say the thing that really created that change and really sparked the transition in my life was when I could no longer look in the mirror and be proud of the man that I was being. Right? It was almost as if I was unaware of how much I had allowed myself to fall back into a version that I had outgrown. And I think it's very easy to fall into that trap. But once I came to terms and I was just honest with myself, I was like, no, like I did not work this hard just to let COVID bring me back down this rabbit hole. So as you know, it's like I literally packed up the Xbox, took my butt to Amazon, ordered some resistance bands, a jump rope, and I probably spent the next like 3, 4 hours putting together an at-home workout because I realized that at a certain point in time, you have to realize that showing up for the person that you are isn't enough. And I had to come to terms with that, right? It was when I realized that I need to start showing up to earn the man that I wanted to become that I really started to see that change in my life for the better again.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that because honestly, like I remember watching you go into those workouts and looking at you and like, oh man, this guy's crazy. Why don't you want to just hop in the gym in the game, dog? I'm not trying to work out. COVID's about to be over. Let's enjoy this vacation for a little bit.
Yeah.
Then the vacation kind of went a little too long. It's like, okay, things ain't opening up right now. All right, okay. I'm starting to get a little chubby now. Whoa, I got a dad bod. No. So I definitely get it. I'm glad that you had the foresight. And guys, this is the importance of surrounding yourself with great people, right? It's like when you see your boy doing something and you're not doing shit, you're like, oh man, damn, I should really be doing something. Oh man, that man did outside workout again. Shit. I could go for a walk. You start to challenge yourself a little bit by the people around you and what they're doing. And I love that saying where you either gonna get pulled by the people by the group or you're going to be left behind. To be honest, but I want to jump into our the next topic in the sense of like great understanding, like you were saying, like really the feeling of wasting away and not prioritizing the things that make you show up as the ideal man for yourself. And I think going through that experience, like you're like yourself, I was right there with you. But I think a quote that really stuck with me, and I probably butcher it, but it was by Jordan Peterson, and he said, that a man should wrestle with his potential. And the first image that I saw that popped in my head, I saw this vortex of energy and this light, and me trying to wrestle this whole thing because I saw my potential as something so great, so large that I'm having a hard time wrestling this thing down. But it was a little exciting at the same time because I'm like, wow, I have potential. I can be more than I am right now. And I thank you for starting that movement for us, right? Like just deciding, I gotta do more and be more. And I think that's when I at least took my self growth and my self healing journey very seriously and started going balls to the wall and doing whatever it took to be successful, right, quote unquote. And I remember we were working 16-hour days. We literally showed up every single day, learning skills, reading books, taking courses, sign up for coaches, getting mentorship because we wanted to gain, and I can speak for myself, I wanted to gain back freedom, right? I wanted autonomy. I wanted to feel like that my life had some type of purpose, that I was making some type of difference in someone's life. But in the process of just working like nonstop and learning new skills, bro, man, I don't know about you, but I got burnt out. I felt emotionally drained. I felt drained in general. Like I didn't want to get any more work done after some point. Don't get me wrong, it showed me my potential, my capabilities to be able to go that hard. But it's like, damn, like it can be a lot sometimes. I don't know how Jeff Bezos does. I don't know how Elon. These guys are a little crazy. But I knew that I got to a point where kind of like what you were saying, like I didn't like what I was not doing, and then I didn't like that I was doing too much. So I'm like, what do I do now?
Honestly, man, thank you for sharing that because I definitely feel you and resonate on so many levels. I actually never forget, like, I remember I got to class early one day, first year in law school, and I was reading, I think I was reading Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And my professor, she walked in, she was like, "Oh, Hardy, what are you reading?" And I told her Seven Habits. She's like, "Oh, what professor is making you do this?" And I was like, "No one." She's like, "So why are you reading then?" Like, what do you mean, why am I reading? She's like, "Don't you already have so many other readings to do? Like, why are you still doing this?" Right? In my mind at the time, I couldn't understand what she was trying to get at because, like you said, right, going balls to the wall crazy. I was like, no, I gotta go all in school and go all in on the business, go all in on personal development, go all in on working on my emotional regulation. It's like you end up spreading yourself so thin, it's almost as if you can no longer recognize the person you are, right? And I think that one of the visuals that I always keep in my head now after going through that experience to remind myself that doing a whole lot of nothing and doing way too much lead to the same point is I will tell people it's like that's the equivalent of you walking across a tightrope, right? You're naturally teetering back and forth trying to find your balance, but the second you feel your weight shift too much to one side, everyone has the same natural inclination, and that is to shift all the way to the other side, not realizing that all that does is put you in the same exact position, just in a different side, right? Like that's really what I got from not doing a whole lot of what I needed to do and also doing too much of what I considered to be the right things, right? Not realizing that both ends lead to the same place, like you said, which is burnout.
Yeah, and burnout for different reasons, right? Like you don't feel the burnout when you're not doing what you need to get done, right? It's more of a feeling of frustration, a feeling of failure, a feeling like, yeah, I should be doing more, I can be more, I can do something different, right? It's I would say there's a difference between the feelings, but either side kind of gives you a negative feeling. They give you negative emotions that you have to kind of deal with. And I think, for at least for myself, is finding that sweet spot. I can't say I have the answer right now. I can say that it's gotten easier of doing both sides, right? I find myself going balls to the wall and then sometimes just relaxing, but I haven't found a happy medium that would say, yo, this is the ideal way to be, to find that success sweet spot, right? It's, I look at our content creation process, our journey, right? We did our podcast and we did 42 weeks straight of episodes, right? We went balls to the wall on that one, right? We went hard on that one, but you know, we were when we set out to create the podcast, we had certain goals and results that we wanted to reach, but we didn't reach all of them, right? We got the goal of, yeah, we're going to show up every week and show and just pull out the content. We did that, but it wasn't sustainable after a while. Like you start to lose steam and energy. And I think for me at least, when we took a break from the podcast, it's like it was hard to get right back into creating the podcast again because of like I went ball so hard. I didn't like it like that. And now I'm back to right. It was like finding that happy medium, that sweet spot. But I think we both came to the conclusion that like no matter what we decide to do, that we're gonna just enjoy and have fun with it, right? Instead of looking at it as like, oh, this is the work, I gotta go hard. No, like I want to do this because I enjoy it, and then it provides an impact. Or even if one person said like, wow, that episode was amazing, like great man, I appreciate you saying that because it does take a lot of work. It does require investment of time and energy.
They say it all the time. It's like no one understands the amount of work that it took to present yourself as you are. And if they did, they wouldn't appreciate it anyways. But I actually have a question for you based on what you're saying, right? It's like, so what do you do when you feel like your success formula is no longer working for you?
Honestly, I take a break sometimes. I'll just pick a day where I'm just, relax. You mentioned it once, right? The RMV, relaxation, meditation, and visualization, right? Taking the time to go inward because at the end of the day, yes, we're going after all these goals, these aspirations, these dreams, but it's maintaining that great relationship with yourself that's key, right? It kind of popped in my memory like when I started this journey and I decided to bet on myself and I decided to go and just see where life will take me in the way that I choose my success. I was like, even if I don't become what I set out to become, I'm happy that I chose to do something different, to be something different. I'm just happy that I'm living because like I'm living life to the fullest in the sense of I'm doing what I want because I want it, not because of what my parents told me, not because of my teacher, my uncle, whoever was there as a role model figure. I'm just happy that I'm making the decisions. And every time that I need to retreat and take a step back, I'll retreat and take a step back because I think that all problems start inward, not outward. So if something's going wrong in the outer version of my reality, I go inward and ask myself, what's going on? Why are you feeling this way? Right? Really just dissecting my emotions, dissecting myself, and then get back into the work, right? It's like finding that time to recharge yourself whenever you can.
Honestly, I love what you said, right? In the taking the ownership of living a life of your design and being more married to the fact that you're taking actions for you than being married to the result of where you want to get to. Personally, when I was always tied to the results and only the results, I felt so empty inside, right? It's like, it's weird to explain, but you mentioned earlier how you get the same feeling from doing nothing and doing too much. Just it just hits you different. I feel like for myself, I got that same sense of emptiness where when I wasn't doing enough, it was almost like I was ashamed of myself, right? It's kind of like when you look in those movies and the parent always comes like, I'm not even mad, I'm ashamed. I had so many of those moments with myself where it's like, I'm ashamed of you, Hardy. I just sit I'm like, damn, like you have every right to be ashamed of me because I'm not showing up how I said I would show up. And on the flip side, when I was doing so much and I was going crazy and I was doing the 16-hour days, I still felt empty inside. And it wasn't emptiness because I wasn't doing enough. It was empty because I had to sit there so many times and reflect and just give myself the appreciation for what I was doing because there's such frustration that brews inside of you when you show up day in and day out and you're putting in the work, you're working on the skill set, and you're not getting the result that you want, right? And that is also such an empty feeling. And that's actually a big reason why I started doing what I call R&D retreats, right? Because I needed that time, that space to separate myself from my environment so I could see myself for the work that I'm doing and the person that I am, and not simply see myself for where I position myself based on the circumstances of life around me, right? And I'll answer the question that I asked you earlier in terms of the what do you do when you feel like you are struggling to find your success formula sweet spot? For myself, I'm a big believer that finding your sweet spot is going to change season by season. And knowing that the person you are today is not going to be the person you are 3 months from now. Right? So maybe you're in a season where maybe you should be doing more than you're doing right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right? But you also got to make sure to nourish yourself, right? I know it's a big thing that me and you, we talk about it all the time, right? If you can't nourish yourself when you're in your season of grinding, you're always going to find excuses to neglect the parts of your life that are keeping that empty feeling deep down inside of you.
I can co-sign with everything you said because that emptiness or those feelings never really go away, right? At the end of the day, they're always there, and it's really learning to appreciate everything, right? Like appreciate the journey, like you were saying with the results. It's like with the results, like I feel like we were making results in headwinds, but it was never enough. There was always a next thing that we always had to go focus on, and you know I get it. It's like, yo, just keep your foot on the pedal until you find a place that you're comfortable. I like the balance personally. I think the key is balance. But balance, like you're saying, in different seasons, they're going to be different. I'll say a ratio, right? Maybe it's 70-30, 70% going hard working and then 30% relaxation, or even 90-10. It's just constantly changing based off of what skills you need to learn, based on the person you need to be, based on the, actions that are occurring, because, it's understanding that, life will come at you hard. There's things that you can't plan for. You got to be able to handle those things when they come because they're not part of the plan or the design of what you're looking for success for yourself, right? And that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can get into in another episode, I would say.
Oh yeah, honestly, I feel like you said it very well. It actually reminds me of a quote I actually have on my quote wall over here, and it says, "If you're never too busy driving to stop and get gas, then you're never too busy in life to pour into yourself." And I put that on the wall because that was a reminder that I needed to be constantly seeing, because I think it's so easy in our fast-paced society, especially as men, to feel like you always need to be doing more, right? You're never really satisfied with where you are. And I call it the SOS trap. It's like, if you're a true student of success, you are in this trap because the more you achieve, the more you want to achieve, right? When you're in this growth seeker mentality, the bar is always moving, right? The goalpost is never truly attainable because the second you hit your goal, what are you doing? You're setting another goal,
Yep.
right? But it's really finding those ways to reward yourself for taking the actions that lead to the goals and not simply waiting until you reach this grand goal to remind yourself, because the last thing you want to do is wake up one day and realize you spent the last 50 years chasing a goal and you never took the opportunity to actually enjoy the life that you have.
Yeah. And I think, to go off what you're saying, it's really, and I look for myself as like creating your life by design, but that design is constantly changing based off the person who you are and the things that you're doing. And, you know, finding that, those times where you need to pour into yourself, right? Or you're right. Cause when we started the journey, the goal was the gym first, right? Cause we got some dad bods. It's like, all right, I'm not skipping no more days at the gym.
COVID
This is
was
the
real.
first time. Second.
I said COVID was real. That COVID time,
Yep.
it
It was
was there.
definitely real. Definitely real. But we took the time to, right? I think that was the first time we were hitting the gym 6 days a week, no skipping, right? We didn't skip a day. We went 6 days a week, and we went for, honestly, I would say 2 years plus. Granted, it made it easier with COVID in the sense of once the gyms came opening back, nobody was at the gym like that. There was a few people, so the machines were always available. Like, it was an amazing time. I ain't gonna hold you, but I do miss those times. But it's not. It's different right now. I can't hit the gym 6 days a week because I have other priorities and other responsibilities now, and so finding that success sweet spot has changed. Versus, me, I'm 30 now, right? That success sweet spot has changed from when I was 25, around the time COVID was starting. And so it's like, and I'm sure it's going to change again in the next 5 years, right? It's just really understanding that at the end of the day, that success sweet spot requires one thing from all of us. It requires us to go and actually figure out what that balance that we're looking for, and changing it when we need to change it, right? It's like not being automatons, not being robots in the sense of like, I'm just always like this. I'm gonna, I find it crazy when someone's like, I've been working for 30 years and I've done these 50-hour shifts for weeks, and look at you young kids complaining. I'm like, cool, you wanted to destroy your body. That's a personal choice.
You're not wrong.
Life is too short. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather enjoy my youth and go after my goals and my dreams and my aspirations.
And as you should, right? And I think you honestly wrapped this bow up perfectly on this episode, right? So if you're listening to this episode right now, I would say the one thing that I'd want you to take away from this episode is the realization that your success sweet spot can only be defined by you. If you don't know where to start, just start, right? Because starting is going to give you so many more answers than sitting there and thinking about starting. Because, like we said, life happens. There's always going to be something that comes up: car problems, family problems, your boy needs your help, you got a promotion, right? Don't put off the work that is required for you to enjoy your life now while you work on building the life that you want to enjoy 2, 3, 10, 20 years from now. So find that sweet spot for you and just get started. And of course, if you don't know where to start and you're looking for assistance, feel free to reach out to us. Like, we created this podcast because we want to help you, right? We want to help men level up in life, not just financially, level up mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually.
Yeah.
Right? We want to help men learn how to grow into the leaders that they hate not having in their lives on the day to day. And most importantly, we want to help men learn how to love themselves as men, because life is way too short for you to sit around comparing yourself to another man who seems to have more than you or who seems to be a better place than you. And in reality, more often than not, what we tend to do as men is compare our behind the scenes failures to someone else's highlight reel, not realizing that that same person has their own set of behind the scenes failures that you're just not seeing.
Hey, I mean, you said it, bro. You said it. At the end of the day, being a man is tough, right? You feel not appreciated, and I totally get that. But And if you're like us, you probably didn't have father figures out there to really just have conversations with. And so, screw them. Let's be each other's father's figures. Let's help each other create the next generation of men that don't have to go through the things that we went through. Because at the end of the day, our job is to make the world a better place, even if it's just one person at a time.
Mm-hmm. 100%. So if you like this episode, guys, make sure that you like it. Drop comments if you're listening to this on YouTube. Share with one of your homeboys that you think could benefit from us. And of course, reach out to us, guys. We want to help you. We want to build this community. And we are on this grand mission. And I'm going to be entirely honest with you. We cannot do this without you. We want to help you. So reach out and let's get started together, right? Let's do the work and let's really be able to sit back 5, 10 years from now and be like, we were part of the change where men learned that they are the only people who get to dictate what type of men they want to be. Stay blessed, keep that head up, and we out.
Peace.